Michael Krieger for Long Term Concierge. I'm here with the founder of Long Term Concierge, Christina Pinto Rogers, and we're here to talk about the DIY Personal Playbook from Long Term Concierge. How are you today, Christina?
Great. Thank you, Michael, for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into this offering from Long Term Concierge. We've done a lot of work on this. I know you've put in a ton of time in putting this great resource together. So I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to just start at the top here and kind of what was the what was the reason for creating the DIY personal playbook?
So thanks, Michael. And, one of my biggest fears was if something happened to me, who would care for my mom the way she cared for me when I was younger, preparing her meals, her medical history, as well as her daily routine. So one of the things that I quickly learned is getting organized was essential for me and trying to run my business and all my other responsibilities. So I decided to start writing everything down, creating processes because time was limited. I knew that spending extra time up front would more than pay off later. And all of those processes and checklists that I put into place became what's known as the personal playbook today.
So with this incredibly detailed organizer, let's just talk about as you're creating it, who you thought it would be very helpful for.
Absolutely. Although it originated to help caregivers like myself to just be more organized and be better prepared, as we continue to help clients, we've realized the value that it's bringing folks of all ages at all stages in their lives. And interestingly enough, a lot of family members, like adult children, spouses that are caregivers, they don't see themselves as caregivers. People think a caregiver is a paid professional caregiver, and that's not always the case. So when you take a spouse, for example, they're extremely stressed, very tired, they're not thinking ahead. And what happens many times is they neglect their own health. So, again, taking the time to be prepared not only will help those caregivers, but also those they care for. Adult children that may be out of town, they find it very difficult to care for their loved ones from a distance. The playbook, again, I think could be quite helpful. We're realizing with parents that have younger children, especially single parents, being organized is crucial. And then you have those that may not think about this, but young people, couples, knowing again where that vital information is. Something happens, that person that's stepping in to help you can now assist you that much easier when they can get to the information at hand. So it's really interesting how it started mainly for caregivers because I did it for myself and my mom, and it's evolved into really anyone can use it.
So after creating the playbook during this interview, why do you feel is important to kind of be able to show people a behind the scenes, if you will, look at the DIY personal playbook?
Yes, Michael. So I feel it's important to walk through it because, as you said, it's very detailed, but it has a lot of good information as to why, take the time. Caregivers are stressed, and sometimes you may be asking yourself, I don't have time. Why should I invest time to do this? And I will tell you, taking the time up front will not only save you so much time later on, it'll reduce your stress, it'll help communication with your family, but most of all, your loved ones that you're caring for will get more consistent care. Everyone is on the same page. So, we're going to walk through it, explain a little bit about why this was created, why these pages are important, and also how to best go through it.
Now we could kind of dive into the playbook and just kind of take it section by section to really understand the kind of key information that's being organized within it and the
Okay.
value of that.
The table of contents, we've broken it down into sections to make it easier for you to locate different pages and what you may need at the time. So, key and medical information is basically a lot of detailed checklists and forms for your medical contacts, your medications, your pharmacies, anything related to both personal and medical information. So we're going to walk through some of these pages and point out some relevant information that may not be so apparent by just looking at a checklist. This important documents is very, very important. It allows you to go through and actually locate some of these items. The most important item on here, I would feel, is your passwords, as well as any legal documents, power of attorneys, and so forth. A lot of times folks think they have them, they're in a drawer somewhere, but put your hands on them, touch them, make sure they're signed, and then you can check things off as you find them. And also, it's a great checklist to let you know what items are missing that you may need to complete.
Yeah.
So, just some key information here. Emergency medical information. This is one of my favorite forms because it is a snapshot, a one-page critical information from their personal information to their health insurance, emergency contacts, and a brief medical history. This was very useful to me when I wasn't able to take my mom to the doctor, to the hospital. They have this form in their purse, in their wallet. It allows someone that's stepping in to help and have all the information needed. If you have pets, you know that they are family, right? So this allows for, again, that person to step in to know not only who your pets are, but are there specific feeding instructions, medical information, current medication list. A lot of folks have this. One of the things I like about this specific list is your emergency contact is on here, as well as your doctor, your pharmacy, and most important, updated on. Make sure that your medication list is updated and it's shared with those that may need to take you to the doctor. And if you live alone, make sure it's on your refrigerator so that when the emergency response team shows up at your home, there's no guessing. Again, all of this is created not only for the caregiver, but for that person being cared for to receive that better, more consistent care. Medical contacts, self-explanatory, just having all of your physicians, pharmacy information, preferred hospital, medical log. This has been a favorite of our clients in that it allows you to keep track of your doctors and what exams, what tests, what procedures may be coming up. And again, better communication with the entire family. Medical device information. If you have a device, this is just an information as to who gets called if the person falls, but also what account is being debited, how much the monthly fees are for the caregiver to be able to help. So the end of life wishes is really more of a guide to help you start the conversation about end of life, what your wishes are with your family, and ease the difficulties that may arise later. It's not a fun subject, but definitely an important one for sure. Caregivers and friends contact list. This starts with who makes up that caregiving team, and this can be professional caregivers as well as friends that are all doing their part to check in on your loved one. Organizing the caregiver duties in the caregiver daily log is also essential. In this checklist, it allows them to list what is needed and also allows them to complete it as they go. So this again improves the communication with the caregiving team. Having a weekly schedule. This has been a great place to list all appointments, medication lists. It can be therapy appointments, and some people have even listed their dog's medications on here. So it's a great snapshot of just what is happening. So if you do have a personal caregiver that does not work through an agency, This timesheet can be quite useful to keep track of their time and also calculate their hours for their pay. So as you can see, the common theme with these checklists, not only in the caregiving section, but overall, is to simplify the caregiver's role and provide that consistent care for their loved ones. So nutrition is crucial for all of us, especially as we age, and we need to stay as healthy as possible. The healthy shopping list groups the items into nutritional benefit to make it easier to shop. And I actually created a unique shopping list for my mom after I saw her handwritten grocery list week after week, which was getting harder and harder for her to write and even harder for the caregiver to read. And so hers was pretty specific as to number of items, number of potatoes, etc. But it really was very nice to just be able for the caregiver or her to check off what she needs and makes everybody's life a little easier. So there's a 5 day meal planner and also a 7 day meal planner. And this was created basically so that the caregivers and the person they're caring for can decide what they will be preparing for the week. Spend a few minutes up front, makes it easier later on, and it also allows you to list any other items that may be needed. Portion control, we can all use a little bit of that, whether it's trying to gain weight, which that was my mom's issue, or you're trying to lose weight, portion control is always a good thing. And having basic guidelines, this really helps the seniors with pictures to give them a better idea of how much they should be eating. So the financial and legal section may appear overwhelming at first glance, but honestly, if you just list the name of the banks where the accounts are located, that will be a huge time saver later on when you are not able to communicate with your loved ones. So we have heard many stories from our clients after their parents pass away and the kids realize that they don't know where their parents' accounts are held. This is not something they ever spoke to their parents about. And so in today's world, especially with electronic statements, if you don't have the passwords to log into their bank accounts, you won't be able to figure out where the accounts are located. And that can be a very, very difficult task. It's also very important for you to know the name of their attorney, their financial advisor, accountant, any other trusted advisors. Financial overview, again, you can be as detailed and as basic as you would like and have the time. The more is always better, but this at least will give those people caring for you or may need to step in when an emergency happens what you have, what assets are there, what they are, how much, and again, it can be an approximate value. But towards the bottom of the financial overview, there's also an estimated future expense. This is a good conversation when folks are looking to stay home and receive care at home, what modifications may have to be done to their home, assisted living, nursing home, if that's their goal is to not stay home and be in a retirement community, monthly budget, overall, what is the income, what are the expenses, how are they doing. Sometimes parents don't want to share this information with their kids. They are either embarrassed or don't want them to know if there's too much money. It could be either one. So we're trying to just provide a snapshot so when someone does need to step in and help, they have an idea of what the overall situation is. This is one of my favorite areas, future goals. So having a conversation about where do you want to live? Who do you want to live near? Do you want to stay home? Do you want to live in a retirement community? You know, what hobbies do you have? Do you want to volunteer? So this is almost like asking the person what would they want. So when the emergency, that unforeseen life event happens, it's not your kids, it's not your family sitting around the room making decisions for you. You are part of those decisions, and that's crucial. And, I think we all learn something from our parents, especially after they've passed. And I would have done things a little differently with my mom, and that's one of those things that sometimes you don't have the option, but if you do have the option and have the opportunity to have the conversation, this again helps guide that conversation to hopefully understand that person's goals and their wishes in more detail. The caregiving team is also a very important overall piece of the personal playbook. This is not just about identifying who is the caregiving team, but more importantly, about the tasks that are needed to assist your loved one with their care and also run their household in their absence. And as you can see, it does show relationship. Most of the time, family members are part of that caregiving team, not necessarily the paid professional caregiver. This is very helpful when the crisis happens. Now you have a plan, and if you have two kids, if you have three kids, or maybe they're nieces and nephews, everyone has a role, and the crisis is always going to be a difficult time for everyone involved. So hopefully this will make it a little easier because everyone has been identified with their role and what needs to happen in order to continue that care and also efficiently run that household while the person is gone. So I hope this information was helpful and folks found it useful based on their own situation. For some, unfortunately, you may not realize the value of the personal playbook until you face an unexpected life event. We tend to be reactionary and not planners, unfortunately.
Do you have any kind of suggestions for people who obviously kind of purchase the playbook and download it? It's available
Yeah.
on your website at longtermconcierge.com. So any tips on practical tips on filling out the playbook for people who may purchase it?
Yes, Michael, and that's a great question. As I alluded to earlier, it looks a little overwhelming at first. 27, 37 pages, and people are busy no matter whether you're a caregiver or not. Planning mode is also a great thing when you have the time and there are no prices and nothing is happening. You know, that's when I would suggest looking at purchasing the personal playbook and then take it in pieces. Don't try to sit down one night and complete it all because it's probably pretty impossible. It could be done, but I think it would be difficult. So either if you're doing this by yourself, break it down into sections maybe and look at taking some time once a week to dedicate to this, once a month, and as you go through it, if you are able to share with your parents. I've heard our clients mention that they have dinner or have lunch with their mom or their dad and they go through this together because think about it, they are going to have most of the information. So what this is a crucial tool to have is we're transferring information, whether it's parents to adult children, whether it's spouses to each other, whether it's parents transferring the kids' information to each other, that one may be more of that caregiving role for the younger children. It's sitting down and taking it as, using it as an excuse to spend quality time with those folks and really learning more about what they're doing, not only their medical information, but like I said, with the future goals. Let's talk about what people want that are important in our lives that we love so that we can make better decisions for them. And that, quite frankly, it's much easier for you because you're not making those decisions for them. when the time does come that they may not be able to care for themselves. They've already made those decisions.